which is surprising to me.
I think I remember that. Like, they look very
You're
similar
gonna want to be
externally, but
at least
Yeah.
that they're
30 or 40.
not even in
I
the
don't
same
even know if it
family,
really starts before 30.
same phylum, I guess.
Their feeding mechanism, they are lophophorates, which means that they feed differently than mollusks. So they have a ring of ciliated tentacles around their mouth. So they still feed
Could
through
we get some
suspension.
zooms before we make a collection so that we see which individuals we're collecting?
Ooh. All right.
Sorry, no, sorry, that was my fault. I wasn't. I just want to make sure that we're collecting something with more material inside and not just a dead shell.
Yeah,
So
there's that one. That one's alive. The one
yeah,
to the left that
I
just
saw
opened
some
and
that kind
closed.
of closed down.
Yeah.
Some it looks like there's brittle stars inside, so or maybe that's their structure. I guess
So
it must be.
I think
do you have a particular one in mind or whatever we can
they
get?
all look pretty healthy. The one on the left with the crumbs around its mouth.
Has like barnacles on it and a
Yeah.
little squat lobster bite. But why don't we try and get a few of those?
Yeah, so the one on the left side of the rock might be challenging in this particular orientation because we can try, but the manipulator will occlude the view.
How about to the right then with a slurp reach over there to, yeah, that rock?
That would be better because we can work right to left.
Let's try that.
Okay, do you want a shot of them before we
Yes,
slurp?
I would.
Zoom out just a bit, Wayne. I'll try and center it up.
All right. Okay, zooming in.
Yeah, that's all the pan right I have on this heading. That's good there.
Okay.
Okay, so a few of those bigger ones to kind of straight ahead on that rock.
Straight ahead on that rock.
All right.
Yep.
Squat lobster is like, please no.
Oh.
I think I see some little hermit crabs right behind the slurp. They're crawling around.
Sorry, there's one in the jar, two in the jar.
Two in the jar, and maybe that one at the bottom, just below the slurp. Could we get that one?
We can go for it.
Or that one you knocked off, that one worked too. All right, that should do it.
Hold what we got there. See if they make it. Yep. 3 in the jar.
Looks like we got some friends too.
I see 4 in the jar now.
Just slipped 3.
You got a clam bake.
Loaf-a-four break.
Should be at least 5.
Bake.
Loaf-a-four.
Should you pick up your tip just a little? That's good. I'm going to turn up the jam. See, I think we still got a few in the hose.
There it is. We got 4 in there.
Yeah, we should have at least 5.
All right, I got sample 039.
039.
Can you zoom out a
Yep.
bit, Wayne?
That's
I
correct.
can.
So if you straighten your hose and give a little play with it. Remember how we did the... While you're doing that, I'm going to stop suction and see how many fall down. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5. One stuck. 1 or 2 stuck up by the filter there.
And what number jar did that go
Hold
in?
what you got there. Number 3.
Yeah,
3.
we're okay.
I'm going to turn up the suction again so I don't slurp the white thingy.
What'd you do, Antonella? What'd you do? It won't go back in.
That
Okay, moving back to the flush jar.
Your T5 valve has 5% on it.
Thank you. Might have been an inadvertent button press. Give it a any outie. That's good. Sometimes it gets stuck right about there. You're gonna push it a little. We let go of it there and then give it a love tap with a closed jaws. If you want, yeah. Or you can just close the jaws and kind of sweep it in. It'll go the last bit. In theory. Yeah, you can grab. It usually does on the deck when I use my steel toe. Just gonna put you in the corner of the view there. Try grabbing the nozzle itself, or do it any outie again. You might have to pull it in and out again. heck were you doing that? Oh, the vehicle's doing a weird motion. Feels like it. Cycle halt again. I think you're pushed in, so you gotta pull out of this a little bit. Some of the hardest parts is getting off. There you go. Jaws are pinned on the... If you elbow out now.
Did it once, you
Yeah,
can do it
keep
again.
elbowing up. There you go. So close your jaws there. Close your jaws. And then turn them 90 degrees. Now use this part to get on the, there you go.
Nice.
That's the love tap we were looking for. Nicely done. Yeah, it's good enough.
Well done. So you were just hearing our Herc pilot instruct our Argus pilot and helping to return the slurp sampler. And it just highlights that this really is like a learning environment and a space where we're helping people in the field gain new skills and learn how to use these amazing ROV technology.
Perfect. And until I knows what to do, I just like to talk to myself. So.
Thanks for bearing with me. That was my first time
That was
slurping
awesome.
anything.
My
Yay.
first slurp, just
First
watching. Too.
That was way better than my first slurp.
Woo! But these brachiopods are so interesting in that I'm just reading that they were incredibly numerous and built probably these ancient reefs, but this is literally, they're talking like 250 million years ago in the Paleozoic time. And I just am really excited to see them in person. So thanks for sampling them.
Yeah, I'm excited to learn a little more about them.
And I guess that just that they are pretty obscure today. I mean, this website from Berkeley University is just saying that they estimate 300 living species. And they're just not encountered a lot because they're at such great depths and also often in colder water.
But because they've been around for a long time, they're in a lot of fossils. At least 600 million years old.
So for those of you that are just tuning in, we're diving off of the Greater Farallones National Marine Sanctuary in the Point Arena area. And this is expected to be a 22-hour dive. We launched yesterday afternoon, Pacific time, around 4 p.m. And this dive is a bit shallower than other dives or other parts of dives we've done. So we're just hovering around 180, around 200 meters. And hello to listeners in Japan and Colombia. Turkey as well. Listeners from all over the world are tuning in, and we welcome all of you.
A skate is on the move.
That one looks pretty clean. Maybe. No,
I don't know.
no. I think he's got a few. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof. That would annoy me so much.
My nose itches.
Yeah, exactly. Oh. I'm kind of in your line of, sight line. Oof.
Oh. All right.
All right. Well. Okay. Pushing in. All right. Yep. It's got some too.
We're on a good heading. We are exploring this, what Guy Cochran called a fault scarp. And it's kind of a narrow band of slope created when a fault slipped And we are in Greater Farallones National Marine Sanctuary. We are about a little over 12 hours into this dive. This is our second watch on this dive, and we've covered a good bit of ground on this transect. And we've come across, yesterday we were in mud habitat and then some mixed rocky area, kind of similar to what we're doing. We're here right now. We're headed down towards an area where it looks like it might have some more rocky slope.
Would skate be considered another fish that could potentially be commercially harvested or fished for?
I'm not sure about that, Carrie. Jenny thinks so. I'll look it up for you.
I mean, overall it'll trend 124, but we can do some steps to the east. Say yes, please.
Going for partial.
Ratfish.
Okay, coming wide.
Love a good ratfish. I think they're very good looking. I like their speckles and their top fin, caudal fin.
Yep. Troublemaker. That flatfish isn't fussed at all. I think that's a flatfish. Yeah. Okay, coming wide. Okay. This is an interesting feature. And a photo bomb. Hello. Hello. Okay. Yeah. There's a...
Yeah, what's going on under that rock?
Yeah, it looks like a fish.
Got some little prawn under there. Is that what you were looking at?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, right where it got dusted. And that codfish just wants to get away from it all. He's not ready to adult today. There's a crab or
I think it's a prawn.
no, to the
that's
left with his claw in the air.
Oh yeah.
Like you just don't care. He's trying to make himself look big.
Prawn looks stuck.
Oh no.
You want to get the arm out and give him a hand?
That other lobster's got its claws out.
Oh, he does look stuck. He's trying to free himself.
Yeah, he's ready. It's a tough one.
Is that a spot prawn? Oh.
Oh, well, yeah.
I think it might be, but I couldn't see its body, so
Yeah.
I couldn't tell.
It was a... Oh, there's one.
Oh, there's another
Yeah,
one.
so that's a spot prawn.
Yeah. He was just a little shy.
I think I see a skate egg case on that rock, right behind that
Put in an
hiding
offset.
rockfish tail
So we
fin.
continue tracking
Oh,
the line.
you're-
I just moved her over 20 meters.
Got
Usually it's
quite
a
a
bit
bit of
more
zoom.
smooth than that. That was weird. It's just the way the system did it, I guess.
I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, where's the potential skate egg?
Well, I think it's out of zoom, but I
Zoom
think I
out.
see another one right here in front.
Oh, you do?
Okay.
Is it right next to this white sponge on the left? I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah.
So it's vertical in
Yeah,
orientation?
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It's got some like white stick things around it, so it
Yeah.
almost looked like
Oh,
fooled me to thinking it was part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another one on the other rock when we zoom out.
okay.
Neat.
And our prawn's overcoming his shyness.
Oh, he unstuck himself, it looks like.
Yeah.
Ooh. So then Jenny was looking at the big rockfish, the green spot,
Mm-hmm.
where you can see its tail, and then
the
behind
top.
its tail on the rock behind it.
Can see another egg case. That one might be open.
Could we zoom in on that?
Is it- Oops. Let me come wide.
Gosh, really cool habitat.
Mm-hmm.
So for skates, they have
Oh.
internal fertilization, but then they lay their eggs.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, one looks old, but one looks...
Yeah.
Yeah,
Skate.
and there's some cup corals between the
Ooh.
two
Mm-hmm.
egg cases.
Yeah, the one right behind that fin
Getting past.
potentially could have something still in it.
Oh yeah, another one. Good eyes.
Do we want to slurp it?
No.
Okay.
I was reading, skate are primarily bycatch in trawl fisheries,
Okay.
but there is some commercial fishery for them. There's limited meat on them, but there is meat on them. California Sea Grant has a page about California skate.
Sea scallops are actually skate wing.
Yeah, they are often, I guess they have a similar texture to scallops, so they're often sold as scallops.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they're such different animals.
I know.
We're such dummies.
We need to get your DNA people on that,
Yeah.
Carrie.
Yeah, I think they like punch little holes out of the
So
meat
sad.
and make it look like
Oh my
scallop.
goodness.
Yeah, I think they do that with bat rays too.
I had fried skate wing in Morocco. It was really good.
I mean, I see skate on the menu not infrequently, which I was always curious about the fishing of it.
Well, since there's been so much regulation on trawl in California, that's really limited bycatch, so they seem to be doing okay population-wise.
Someone tuning in was asking about us not seeing sharks, and I know we saw potentially a dogfish yesterday, but what about, like, I guess shark behavior maybe makes them less frequent visitors around Herc, or are their population numbers just different?
I would expect to see 7-gill sharks in this habitat, and we've seen them before, infrequently. They tend to be a little shy around the camera. I don't know what their behavior is like though, like if they can hear the camera, hear the ROVs and
Quick
just
zoom
stay
that
away.
way.
I don't know much about the population of 7-gill sharks.
Herc is quite
Could look
loud
that up.
underwater.
Yeah, pretty much the invertebrates stick around. And the fish.
Yeah, the sessile organisms have no choice. They're like, oh, chose this rock and I gotta stay.
Now, ratfish are not sharks, but they are cartilaginous.
Oh.
We've seen a couple ratfish.
Hmm.
moving on.
So then do rockfish have traditional scales or more the what is it called on sharks? The dentrals or?
You mean ratfish?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know.
Sea star's moving way too
I
fast.
would vote no scales on
What's
the
that?
That
dogfish.
sea star was moving way too fast.
It was. Too fast for me, obviously.
We were catching them a lot in Hawaii.
Ratfish?
The dogfish.
Mm.
Can we zoom on that sponge, that yellow bowl? This kind of looks like the one we collected last night, right? A little bit, but it's a little more sedimentated.
Always land too close.
Their skin is smooth and scaleless, spotted ratfish.
Yeah. That seems to add up based on that it has the cartilage.
They have spines located on their head and 2 pairs of claspers, if they're a male.
Could we get a close-in zoom, Wayne? Looking at the edge
Yeah,
and some of the...
That's pretty much all I got.
Okay, that's all you got.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
I can get closer and look down if you want to fill the screen with that sponge.
yeah, that would be good if you could do that.
I can do.
It's come like. Okay. Close up, here you come. Let me throw a little more light on this situation. And you said you wanted the edge?
Yes.
So let's see.
So was that full zoom there, Wayne? Or no?
That was full zoom, yeah.
Okay.
That's full, and then this is just backing out. Looks like we're gonna get dusted out.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, coming wide. Yeah.
Someone tuning in asked a question that I've also been wondering. They're curious what would happen to Herc and Argus if they exceeded their depth limit. So if they went below, you know, Herc that 4,000 meters and Argus that 6,000 meters.
So a lot of the components on Herc are rated for 6,000 because that's kind of a standard nowadays. But what would fail would be the buoyancy block. Is when they mix the epoxy and the glass spheres, they shoot for a target range, and I believe that's 4,000. So basically the buoyancy, same thing that happens to a styrofoam cup when we take it down, would happen to the buoyancy block. So it would fail, and Herc would then sink.
We would not want that to happen. So this buoyancy box, though, it's full of glass.
It has micro glass spheres and epoxy, so there's a certain ratio that they mix those to achieve a depth rating on the buoyancy. And typically the deeper the buoyancy, the more dense it is, and it's heavier and bigger. So it's a trade-off. If a deep water buoyancy block weighs more and is bigger, so the vehicle has to be bigger, and there's cable gets bigger, and frame has to be stronger.
Is the buoyancy box the yellow part?
Yeah, the syntactic foam is the
right.
proper name for it.
Worst case would be a bottle implosion, which would cascade through at least the vehicle that failed, and if not both vehicles.
Yeah, our 1 atmosphere housing that houses all of our electronics is a giant stainless steel, I believe, on this guy.
Titanium.
Titanium.
One of the Argus bottles is steel.
So it's a titanium bottle, probably 12 inches around, 30 millimeters in diameter, and close to 1 meter long, that spans the aft portion of Hercules and holds all the computers and electronics that aren't pressure tolerant. And if that failed, it would be catastrophic.
I see. However, this design of the neutral buoyancy allows us to have some confidence that if it was somehow severed from Argus or the Nautilus, then it would float to the top. Hercules would.
Yeah, provided it didn't go past the depth rating
threshold
and lose its buoyancy from its syntactic foam block.
And is Argus neutrally buoyant as well?
No.
It doesn't look it, but just making sure.
That one's not coming back.
So the risk of bottle implosion is quite real, to the point where any new system coming on board needs to be pressure rated, pressure tested, because if we were to put on something that was not depth rated and exceed its depth rating, it could implode and take out bottles with a much higher depth rating, but it would sort of cascade failures. So everything needs to be equally matched and properly tested before we'll put it on the vehicle.
Yeah, one of those, you're only as strong as your weakest link.
And then in terms of the length of time that Herc and Argus can stay underwater, I know we've done dives as long as 60 hours, but is there a time threshold where you
in theory, they
don't
could stay
exceed?
in the water indefinitely.
Okay.
If we had perfect weather and
No leaks.
As long as there's no leaks in the oil compensation system. And it's a pretty tight vehicle. I imagine if we didn't fill it with biology and geology, and we had perfect weather, and no one wanted to go back into port, I'd stay here forever.
Can we zoom on that dark rockfish that's just below the lasers? Are we waiting on the ship?
kind of, yeah.
That guy?
I got a little carried away there.
Dan and I participated in a Argus only 125, 127 hour dive earlier this year.
Wow. Marathon, dive marathon.
That was an Argus record. I think Herc's
Cool.
record is about 72 to 76 hours.
Okay.
And I think that's because mainly it was either an engineering cruise or most of the samples taken were imaging and not proper biology, geology collections.
Mm-hmm. And what's the tether made out of? The tether that connects Hercules to Argus and then both ROVs back to EV Nautilus, our vessel.
Primarily Kevlar is the strength member in it. There's a weave of Kevlar, and on the outside of that is a tough urethane coating referred to as TPR, so something protective, something. And then inside is the high voltage conductors and fiber optics,
Mm-hmm.
and those are in a separate cable. So they're basically the Kevlar is woven around the cable that carries the high voltage to drive our hydraulic power unit, and the fiber optic cables that.
Are you able
give
to
us this
pan
beautiful
down
image.
and look at the little rockfish that's in the left-hand corner with spots on it? Kind of.
Good eye.
That was Jenny pointing that out.
Sorry,
That's
sorry.
right,
Let me
that's right.
try that again. Okay.
That looks just in time.
And thanks for tuning in, Brookline High School. We have a marine bio class that's watching our live feed, so thank you guys. Please be sure to answer or enter any questions or comments that you have. Jenny, one question that we keep hearing, but I think it's important to always answer, is this one about the impacts of climate change. And what are some impacts deep sea, or how is this system maybe different than coastal areas?
That's a really good question. Something we definitely have been spending a lot of time researching and learning about and focusing research on to better understand the impact on the deep sea. The deep sea overall is a very slowly changing environment, slow changing environment. Temperature is very stable. Oxygen's already very low. Something we don't know too much about is how the chemistry could change, and that's one of the things that we're studying throughout this expedition, taking some Niskin bottles to take water, and those are being preserved to study the carbonate chemistry of those samples so we can better understand how the carbonate chemistry could be changing down here. With carbon dioxide, the burning of fossil fuels and deforestation, there's a lot of extra carbon dioxide entering the atmosphere, and the ocean picks that up. It absorbs it like a sponge. It takes about 30% of the carbon dioxide into the ocean. And we've put so much carbon dioxide out, we're actually starting to see shifts in ocean chemistry in some parts of the world's ocean. The California current happens to be a place where we get exaggerated pH values at surface waters because we also have upwelled waters coming up from the depths that have low pH that are coming up and then meeting up to the surface waters where we have carbon dioxide being absorbed. So we're getting kind of a double whammy on the California coast with low pH values during upwelling season. I think one of the big concerns is when we see changes in the surface waters, which we are expecting as we get warmer and warmer on our planet, that's going to affect the food that is available to all the animals in the deep sea because they completely rely on everything
Scared all the fish.
that rains down from above. There isn't a lot of food down there unless it comes from the surface waters. So that is an impact on the deep sea from climate change. And we don't know too much about that yet. We haven't seen in our limited surveys many impacts that we could attribute directly to climate change at this point. Just can't really pinpoint that. But that's one of the reasons we want to get to know this area so we can see what does it look like right now.
There's another skate egg on that rock. You could take a look at that. Zoom in to the right of the lasers.
Next rock up.
One of the
See it?
communities
Here's
that
the next rock up.
I hope it's not too morbid to say, but I'd love to see is a whale fall community at some point.
There you go. That
When
yellow thing.
mammals die, for
Oh, I
whatever reason they die, many times they fall to the seafloor, and other deep sea expeditions
There we go.
have sometimes encountered these whale fall communities, and they become this smorgasbord of life to decompose that. It's a food source for these animals that live in the deep sea, and I've been so fascinated by that
Mark, find a spot.
concept of stepping stones across the ocean. There's certain worms that basically follow these whale fall communities, and
Okay, there we go.
hagfish and ratfish come, and I'd love to see one of those, even though I don't really want to see a dead animal, but it is the cycle of life and decomposition, and something that's dead is food for somebody else. All the detrital material that we see raining down is food for so many organisms on the seafloor, the corals and the sponges and the brachiopods and the cucumbers.
While we're here, Wayne, could you put the white stick things behind it in focus?
The coral branches, or
Yeah, I think they are sponges, but yes, those. They're on the same rock.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, we're
That's
not
all right.
quite stable there.
We're you trying to see if they have banding?
No, I'm trying to see the.
Okay, we're at full zoom, so
Oh, okay.
it's and he's not
Okay. All right. Another
stable.
rock we could find and.
Give me a second here.
Okay.
Find it.
Okay. We can make it work. Let me come wide a bit.
Herc's sitting on another rock, so he's
You can see the bird.
Okay.
Some birds
So
coming.
for those of you who are tuning in and just joining us,
Sorry.
okay.
the
Wayne,
majority
try
of the
again.
fish that we're seeing are
Okay, let's try
rockfish.
now.
So we've been in a varied substrate habitat of mud and some rock, and it's been full of rockfish. Many different
Okay.
species though. And Danny is getting pretty darn good at identifying each type.
Okay.
Okay,
Off we go.
coming wide.
Okay.
Coming wide.
I'm interested in finding another rock. If we could get out ahead a little bit, have time to sit down and look at some of those white, little, tiny white sticks, and they might be sponges that we're interested in.
Okie doke.
And, you know, we're staying above 200 meters of depth, so we've done dives as deep as almost, 2,000 meters in past dives this week. This one's a little bit shallower, much shallower, and we're, hovering around that 200 meter mark.
just getting back to talking about the impacts of climate change to this area, we know that the solutions are there to reduce our use of fossil fuels and find alternative sources of energy, and that's the best thing that we can do to help slow down what's happening with the warming planet.
Thank you for saying that, Jenny. I feel like, you know, thinking about solutions is a really positive conversation to have with our communities around climate change, and to really think at a larger scale in terms of community-wide, or, you know, I live in a city, New York City, so building-wide,
That
neighborhood-wide.
fish just dusted out the one that I thought
It was a
had.
big cup coral.
Oh yeah, that's possible. Possibly.
I was watching a webinar from another deep sea scientist earlier this year, and she talked about how important some of this deep sea research is. And there's some areas where we're learning about deep sea mats of bacteria that we don't know enough about, but could be some sort of solution in regards to
Fish killed it, Lane. We're gonna move
Yeah,
on.
we're gonna
either
move
alternative fuel or mitigation
Never
with
mind.
soaking up carbon dioxide and these bacterial mats. You know, there's so much we don't know. That's one of the important parts about doing this deep sea research, is learning more about our planet Earth and the parts of it that could
I
help
think I
us.
saw our first crab.
And that's why expeditions of this kind are just so exciting. The area that we're in has never been explored in this capacity, so this expedition is working to characterize the species and, you know, the just the bottom of the seafloor in general, to set this as a baseline so we can, you know, learn from there.
And with Greater Farallones National Marine Sanctuary as steward of this region, they want to know most about what's here and what's the quality of the habitat and the species that live here, so they can consider that with decision making that of things that come up management wise. One of the technologies that we're going to see more about is alternative energy with wind or wave energy, which is quite an impact in the ocean. So we need to know as much as we can about the seafloor quality and value to species when considering those types of technologies.
And I did have a comment from a viewer about that egg, and they asked, could it have possibly been a cat shark egg?
Possibly the skate eggs and the cat shark eggs look pretty similar in form. Like, we could probably look up some information if there's any distinguishing features between the two. I have seen cat shark eggs kind of bundled all together, like a whole bunch of them. So I don't know if they always are like that or if they are sometimes in singles, but they do have a similar form. I don't know how to tell them apart.
We have another high school class tuning in from Orlando, Florida. Hi, Timber Creek High School. They're really
Hello.
curious about how we choose our expedition sites. Danny, can you give us any